First up, the Interim Management Committee of the Tema Oil Refinery TOR says it has interdicted some staff for their involvement in the alleged theft of 10.4 million cedis worth of cables, describing it as unacceptable product losses. Now, TOR says the thievery was discovered as a result of a technical and human resource audit. Now, the audit was also geared towards resolving the refinery's consistent product and financial losses to enable TOR meet its full potential. We've got a copy of a report we want to show you, a statement actually, which says that in order to eradicate or reduce product losses at the Tema Oil Refinery to the barest minimum to enable realize its vast potential, the Interim Management Committee, as part of its mandate, commenced investigations into product storage and transfer losses. Below are some of the incidents of product storage and transfer losses that have so far been discovered in the process. The first, the disappearance of 105,927 liters of gas oil on the 4th of September 2021, which belongs to a BDC client. The wrongful loading of 252,000 liters of aviation turbine kerosene instead of regular kerosene into BRV trucks at the loading gantry between the 21st and the 25th of September 2021. The disappearance of 18 drums of electrical cables worth 10.4 million cedis from the technical storehouse of TOR discovered in April 2021. The disappearance of LPG belonging to a client between 2012 and 2015, as a result of which TOR became indebted to the client to the tune of $4.8 million as confirmed by an Ernst & Young audit. Also, loss of naphtha to a BDC client. Consequently, a number of staff members who hold various positions of responsibility with respect to the transfer of products have been queried and interdicted pending the outcome of investigations. Whilst the investigations are ongoing, we urge all staff to remain calm and be rest assured that the investigations are being conducted in accordance with due process of law. Anyone cleared in the process will be recalled from interdiction, whilst any form of liability will be dealt with in accordance with the law. That's from the Interim Management Committee. We are told that this was supposed to be an internal memo that leaked. Joining us to make sense of this, energy consultant Dr. Isi Suleimana and Fritz Moses, research analyst with the IES. Thanks so much for your time, guys. I want to start with you, Dr. Suleimana. You see your thoughts on this latest development at all.
Thank you very much, Darrell. I hope you can hear me, please.
Loud and clear.
Thank you. The development is quite revealing and it's also quite unfortunate. But is this something that that we did not expect, or that is, say, serendipitous? In other case, is it something that is unexpected? I think no. Basically, it's not. It's something that that would have been expected. TOR issues, as I always been mentioning, they are coming from two major conduits. We have external issues and internal issues. The external issues are largely interference, unwarranted political interference, within the day-to-day operations of the refinery. And also the internal issues of TOR are just inherent structural weaknesses, organizational inherent structural weaknesses that are there, where we have losses, the porosity of checks and balances that is resulting to so many losses, So yes, that's the case. So, and what I see is that there's a great intersection between the internal and then the external influences. The TOR is still under government control. So everything that happened, I think the doors at the back stopped with the government. Now, what I'm going to say is that if an institution and a critical institution such as a refinery is there for the past couple of years, let's say 4 or 5 years, without a stable leadership, Darrell, these are bound to happen. These things are bound to happen. So every organization has internal weaknesses, But the fact that TOR as a critical infrastructure, as an energy security establishment, which we all agree that TOR is very key to our energy security. However, we haven't been able to find a very solid and stable leadership for the refinery. So if an organization has internal weaknesses and they don't have leadership, I think the internal weaknesses will only embolden, But what I'll quickly add as my initial take is also the fact that this initial findings, I think those names that have been mentioned, it is just, I would say that it's a preliminary findings, So until the full investigation is done, we cannot try to criminalize anybody who is mentioned whatsoever. And so I think, and it's good that if you look at the IMC report, the ending part, they also make it very clear, that these are preliminary investigations. I think the detailed and in-depth investigation has to be carried out so that we can ascertain whether people can be held responsible or not. I'm saying that because families are at stake. All those people who are mentioned, this is now in social media, and their families will be asking what's going on. And I'm pretty certain that if detailed investigation is done, most of these people may be cleared. I don't know. So that is why I'm very cautious about that, especially people whose names are mentioned. But overall, I think, like I mentioned, TOR issues, we have to tackle it holistically. We cannot keep saying TOR is key to our energy security, but we don't treat it as such. That's not going to work.
Okay, and you mentioned that these are preliminary findings. We don't know what else would be uncovered as investigations go on. But Fritz, I'm just wondering, how do product transfer or losses like these due to the bottom line of TOR?
All right, so Darryl, if I get you, you're asking how the losses that you're experiencing keeps happening at TOR. Is that a question?
How does it affect the operations of TOR and its viability, that is?
All right, sure. Thank you very much. And let me get my tie. I agree with Dr. Suleiman that the current findings that has been exposed or revealed by the IMC is not something that's surprising. I mean, we've seen how TOR's operations have been over the past years. And some of these things, the fact that internally there are some issues that haven't been resolved properly. Now, you look at the operations of TOR and you see that there's a kind of a shift from the standard operating procedures where you would expect that at least with a refinery of its nature, you would see limited human intervention in some of the activities or the things that go on there. And that is not the case. We see that, or we experience that sometimes even from the pipelines to the depots, we don't have enough measuring.
I think we may have lost Fritz there briefly. You want to continue on the point he was making, Dr. Suleimana?
Or enough security around it, and so it's around the all right. So then, Darryl, I was saying that there are some issues with the tanking system or the tank farms where you have some poor lighting system in those areas, affecting the ability of security around that area to be even beefed up. And so you would see that going forward, some of these issues are what the human interaction around the operations of TOR would be taken advantage of. Now, you're obviously also realizing that there's some familiarity that's being built up around the tank farms. And so people around there are able to undertake these theft activities, drawing from the leakages and the spillages that we have in the tank farms or in the tanks that store keeps its product.
Okay, and so Dr. Suleiman, you talk about the issue of leadership, which has been something that TOR has been struggling with over the years. Now, this is coming out. You still think that it's a matter of poor leadership, poor oversight?
Yes, Darren, I think so. Not poor leadership, lack of leadership. I am just saying that if you look at TOR for the last 5 years, they have changed more than almost 5 managing directors. Now, what has happened, I thought maybe if we actually had a leader, maybe a leader would have been taken responsible. You see that they've taken about more than 10 people accountable for various, departments, within the infrastructure. So what I'm just trying to say is that TOR is critical and it's key to our energy security. So the high time the government of the day gets a very stable leadership, a leader who will have business focus, a leader who will treat the refinery like a business entity, not the business as usual. So, and then the fact that we have nothing of that, we don't have board in place, these are all worrisome, So assuming we had a solid leadership in place, and probably the government of the day will give the leader some kind of KPIs. What I mean by KPIs, some key deliverables. Say, I need you to do so and so with a time frame. If the person is not able to do that, then the government kicks the person out. And I think one of the key issues or one of the KPIs that I thought the government could add to any leader, any business focus or any business-minded leader who would have been selected by now, would have been the internal porosity, the internal leakages. All right. So if you have a leader now and the government gives the leader KPIs, including plotting the loopholes, even if it's the topmost priority, that I give you the opportunity to plug the loopholes within the refinery, I think that would be the best starting point. So yes, anyhow you look at it, I think leadership is accountable for this. I'm not saying it's wholeheartedly that's going to be accountable, but leadership is key to this issue. But one thing I'll add again going forward is the fact that the refinery has been there for more than a decade now without any single form of capital injection, any single form of investment.
Right.
And there's no single form of investment because there's no cash flow. There's no cash flow because the refinery is not running. We haven't made any concerted effort to let the refinery run. And I can tell you sometimes it is just due to raw material. All right, so that is so shameful, that is so unfortunate. And critical equipment, rotating equipment such as refinery, and you leave them for over a decade, and it's not running. You are going to turn them to, an asset that nobody will buy one day. And I think we'll have ourselves to blame when one day we want to ask investors to come and invest into TOR, and they'll tell us that the asset is something that they cannot invest in. That day we'll have ourselves to blame. So the high time,
right.
At the time is put there, the high time we invest into the refinery, the better, because refinery is key to our energy security. That.
Thank you for your thoughts, Dr. Isi Suleiman, the energy strategist, on the latest on the Tema oil refinery.